welcome to Around the Table with Powerful Women. I'm Wendy Love Edge.
I'm Christi Daniels.
And I'm Joy Caffrey, and I'm here to introduce our guest, Jeannie McGehee, who has gone from mathematics to Tantra. And I would love for you to tell us about that transition. But before you start, I want to say Jeannie taught at the Department of Mathematics at the University of Central Arkansas for 20 years. And one of the things that she loved to do and believed in was empowering her students by using rich problems and creating experiences so they can integrate concepts and techniques into their practice. And she brings that into the philosophy of her life and to living her spiritual practice. Let's see, I want to add one more thing, Jeannie. I want to add that you've been a practitioner of yoga for 29 years and for Tantra for 10 years. Yes. So tell us a little bit anywhere in between from that mathematics to Tantra.
Okay. So I was, about 12 years ago, I was in a relationship that was struggling, and my partner suggested we go to a Tantra weekend in Memphis. And I went, and I had to go. I mean, we were in trouble. I really wanted to do something, but I was a little bit reluctant. And on that first night, we had to get into these concentric circles and gaze into each other's eyes and wordlessly express our longing for wholeness and love. Well, my eyes did the eye roll. My ego did the eye roll. But my heart whispered to me that I really wanted that wholeness and that love. And so I stayed with the weekend, and things really began to pop and wake up. And as I did that, it started me on this Tantra journey. Because Tantra is more than just about sex. It's about integrating our sexual energy into our very lives, our daily lives. And I did awaken my Kundalini that weekend. I'll tell you more about that, Kundalini. But there was still resistance. There was still a ways to go. But what has saved me and kept me going with my practice is just a curiosity and interest and wanting to expand. My investigation helped me discover that separation versus oneness was a theme of my developing sexuality. And so the Tantra helps us come into that oneness with our energy. Now, sometimes I've moved away from this work. I'm going to be honest with it. And sometimes I've practiced it very intensely. But it's always been at a core for me, at my core, and empowered me when I needed it most.
I want to just jump in and say that I've been at a Tantra workshop where Jeannie was one of the assistants, and I just loved the beautiful life, vibrant energy that was in the workshop and that you brought to the workshop.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about how the breath or the whole body is incorporated.
Yeah. So just for our listeners and viewers, can you kind of define what Tantra is? Or is it Tantra or Tantra?
I say
Tomato.
I say Tantra.
Okay.
But really, simply what it is the art of weaving together seemingly contradictory aspects of our life. Very obviously, the Shiva, the masculine, with the Shakti, the feminine. But there's so many more things that we weave together: expanding, contracting, work, play, many different aspects that can seem to be opposites. Because in Tantra, you live in a both-and world.
Yeah.
It's not about separation. It's about inclusive of everything. And this Kundalini that I talked about, it's that creative energy. We think of it as the serpent at the base of our spine. And it's sort of dormant there, but when you awaken it, and then you open up all your channels and your chakras, then you can control how energy moves through your body. And you can control up and down and expansive and then contraction. And you're just in charge of your whole sexuality that way. And you're using the sexual energy because it's such a natural source for us. You're using that to achieve these altered states and higher consciousness. So
I also like. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just because the blend of mathematics, which is really left brain, and this sort of right brain idea, right? It seems like in your life that's what you do is combine these things together.
That seems opposite. But you know, at the end of teaching, I love walking into those college classrooms and I go, these kids have no idea what I
You're just a math professor.
Little do they know. But I did, but there were sparks. I mean, I couldn't be explicit with them, but there were sparks.
Right. But so you do that in your life in a really,
Yes.
overall way, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so I'm curious, when you are a math professor
Yes.
and you are practicing also this Tantra, how did it change what you did?
Completely changed. Well, already in my teaching, I was very creative. And I was not the normal professor, obviously. And, and so, but it opened me up. You see, mathematics, you all think of it as such a linear thing, but it's really a very beautiful, creative body of knowledge as well, very esoteric. As you know, sacred geometry is a part of mathematics. And I did bring sacred geometry into the classroom a bit.
Yeah, I wish I had used them.
Right, I was going to say, I think more math departments need the beauty of what you can bring to it. Yeah, that creative energy.
So, but my teaching philosophy, it altered that a bit, but then I was able to bring the way I want experiential learning into anything that I do. And of course, Joy is all about experiential learning in her workshops. That's why we work so well together. So
I also, when I studied my energy medicine too, I learned to equate sexual energy with life force energy.
Yes.
Right, and it really opened me up to being able to embody sensual, sexual, life force energy through my whole body, through each one of you. Even mentioned the word chakras, and so I wanted to throw out, like, a lot of people don't even know what chakras are. So one of the ways that I define it, and you can tell me in your Tantra practice you define it differently, but it's energy centers within our body that are responsible for a different aspect of processing energy for each part of being human.
I like that. I like that very much.
Yeah, each chakra is responsible for a different aspect. So anyway, how does the Tantra practice see?
They are energy centers, and really a great orgasm is when it's all spinning.
Right. Yeah.
And you're controlling that energy just freely through there.
Yeah.
So that's and I noticed in the levels that I learned in Tantra, we would focus on a group of chakras at a time, and I believe we started with the root chakra. But then in level 2, we did the heart chakra and the throat chakra together. And then, different teachings focus on a different one. But you just all the time working on keeping everything up.
Yeah, that's funny because it's so parallel and similar to my energy medicine program where we would focus on different chakras and combine the understanding of them. It wasn't a Tantra program, but it was energy, understanding energy work.
I might, y'all were surprised about the mathematician. Well, I'm also the church lady at Unity Church of Little Rock. Literally, they call me the church lady. And I brought Tantra into the pulpit. I really have.
Tell us more about
Believe it or not. Okay, so in Unity, we have the 12 powers, and they're kind of loosely related to the chakras, but the life, the power of life is at the sacral chakra. And so I know, I tell them, I said, oh, and in fact, Cynthia Boudreaux has called Jesus a tantric master. And you see it crops up in way many more places than you might suspect. So, but I love that aspect that you can integrate all of your life. That you can come into union with your work, your vocation, any kind of practice, and bring this all together with this weaving together of Tantra.
So I understand that you'll be co-teaching an experience here in Fayetteville. Can you tell us a little bit about what what a person can expect?
I love that we're bringing together our two different gift sets, and we both come from, her from the Tantra background and me from understanding energy as a healing modality, and we're pulling it together. And as I said, we've both been using whether it's sexual energy or life force energy, and we both have this understanding of energy moving through our body. So in particular, I'm going to be bringing, how do we bring emotional presence? Or how do we bring presence into the emotional aspects of our relationship? What are we doing unconsciously with our partners that we don't realize that actually could bring more suffering into the relationship? And how do we bring that into awareness to release the suffering and bring in that wholeness and the joy of union? So I'll be doing it through an energetic, emotional perspective. And Jeannie's going to be bringing in the Tantra aspect of it.
And again, it's very related, and awareness and presence is the beginning of the tantric journey, but there's also, we specifically use breath and sound and movement. And also I learned an energy sequence that you can bring in a very practical way into a daily practice, or you can expand that into a sexual practice if you wish. And we're going to be learning the basics of that sequence, and it'll very much integrate what Joy's bringing, and you'll learn how to use breath, sound, and movement to just awaken all that arousal of sexual energy. Now, I will add, though, that we're going to do this in a very safe way.
Yeah.
It's going to be sensuous, it's going to be sexy, but not overtly sexual. It'll be very safe, be a very easy introduction.
And go ahead.
Well, I just wanted, so you said the first step is awareness and presence. And I'm trying to, so you mean awareness of that life force sexual energy, or of your own body, or all of it? You know?
Well, all of that, you really want to just be totally in your body and be using your senses and your body, and just bringing that awareness of that, not just living in the head or living.
Yeah. And as we move energy from the root chakra up through the second chakra, the solar plexus, the body relates to that energetic movement in different ways. And so we'll hit different, let's say, thought forms related to that chakra that go along with maybe some of our self-limiting beliefs or our doubts or our body image. So as we're moving energy, part of the awareness is tracking, what's happening, what's going on in the unconscious or the subconscious as I'm moving this energy, and we bring that into consciousness. And as a way to create liberation, as a way to create awareness. As one of the things that I hear you talk a lot about, Jeannie and I have known each other now for years, and that's why I'm so delighted that we're actually going to be working together, is the decreasing the shame.
Yes,
in the
absolutely.
Yes.
That really struck a chord with Christi.
Well, I'm remembering the dialogue that we recently had on the Rock, and I remember the most profound answer came from you to what is it that once we kind of make this shift, to a more empowered, compassionate, loving world, what is it that you look forward to the most? What's underneath all of it?
Right.
And your answer
was shame-free sex.
Yeah.
Because at first we were looking at, more Tantra practice, but then underneath it, why? What's the goal there? And just that sex is understood, it's honored and celebrated, and it's free of shame.
And why do you think that's so important?
Well, because then we can live wholeheartedly with a lot of compassion and integrity. And it's, we're not, I see so many people give up on sex, especially in the later years. I was sitting at a table at a wedding, and this young girl of 30 said, better get it all in because I won't have any left. And I went, I beg your pardon. And you see, y'all, we all have the same equipment. And if we learn how to use, I'm going to be using Sherry Winston's Anatomy of Arousal, but if we all use our equipment in a good way, it doesn't matter the age, the shape, the gender. We all have been given this gift of sexual energy.
Yeah, and those feelings of shame and fear and guilt, it makes it really hard for love to kind of shine through when those other feelings are present.
Oh, yes.
And moving them aside not only helps with the sexual drive, but everything.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're not in that protected space.
Yes.
Right? And when you're in protection, it's hard to access creativity, freedom.
Yeah.
Right, because you're kind of in that fight or flight mode, really.
Yeah.
And if a bear is chasing you, you can't stop and be creative. And
But just the stress we put on ourselves, you know, and the worry. So I think that'd be a pretty neat world.
Yeah, I agree.
Live that way.
I'm also reminded right now of, I think it's Barbara Marx Hubbard. She talks about vocational arousal as well. And so I wonder do you think that Tantra has ignited something vocational? I guess you were a former math professor.
Well, it's sort of, I'm not sure if this is what she meant, but somebody told me, you know, like I had a career in math education. I had a job at the University of Central Arkansas, but my vocation is teaching. And I'm not certain, but it could be related that the work with Tantra opened me up to that idea, and how that is not a limited idea. A vocation is something that you just take in any way you want. And I do know that there are times when literal sexual energy is down, but creative energy is up. And a lot of times you do subvert some of that energy. You're using that energy, but just in a different way. And so that's kind of interesting, because a lot of people just think of a job. They don't think of this broad idea of a vocation, and how unlimited that really could be.
Yeah,
So-
so if we brought more of ourselves. One of the things that I think transformation is about as a healer is freeing ourselves to be able to have access to all these centers within our body, so that we're free to think broadly and clearly and brilliantly. Right? And different families give different context growing up that can dampen our centers. Like, oh, don't be a know-it-all, right? And so then you start to dampen that center. Or express yourself, or be able to emote. And another family, oh, don't wear your heart on your sleeves, right? Or the sensuality, the sexuality. So I want myself and all the people that I can reach to be able to open all of these centers, including their sensual center and their sexual center. And so sometimes we get that message: don't be a slut, you know, like whatever. Who do you think you are? And how can we bring it right back into shameless and beautifully honored all of the parts of ourselves. And that's part of our intention for that workshop, is to bring in the sacredness, to bring in the union, to bring in the awareness.
It's wonderful. So when is the workshop?
It is November 2nd, and it's here at Mount Sequoia, and I'm going to be debuting these decks of cards. This is the one deck, but I'll have the second deck that goes with it. This is a deck of feeling cards, and we'll work with our partners where you'll lay out what things you're feeling at the moment, and then how they can attribute to what needs of yours are getting met or not getting met. And both Jeannie and I have studied Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication, and this is an offset from that, and we'll be working with these cards in the workshop.
Oh, wonderful. So that's if people are in or near Fayetteville, Arkansas, they can come.
Actually, if they're also in Tulsa, Little Rock, Fort Smith, because Mount Sequoia is offering a really good discount for people coming to the workshop.
Nice.
So the workshop, we're making it an extended date night, so it's from 2 p.m. until 9 at night, and we'll be serving dinner.
Oh,
And so because
lovely.
it goes till 9 at night, people coming from outside of Fayetteville can stay at Mount Sequoia Retreat Center, right in the same room that we're doing, in the same building we're doing the workshop in, so they don't even have to go far.
Nice.
At a discounted
Oh,
price.
that's lovely.
And let us say that we've got a couple's price, but really we're open to a couple, you know, not just any kind of traditional definition.
Right,
Couple.
whatever
It's-
that looks like.
It's
yeah.
very open, and if you want to just come as a single,
As an individual.
you're
we're welcoming
perfectly
that too.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yes,
Nice.
because actually one of the most important things about Tantra is you begin with the lover within. You know, it starts there, and then.
And this
builds.
is a level 1 class, and so we'll be working a lot with that, the lover within.
So what is the lover within? Let's define that.
Well, it's just, you know, like I said, it begins with awareness, but it's self-awareness and self-acceptance.
Right.
And so it's accepting yourself, but knowing your body, being embodied with the energy, but literally knowing your body and understanding how sex is in our mind, in our hearts, in our bodies, and all the different ways we can look
and
at that.
be comfortable running that energy within yourself for yourself.
Exactly.
Right, and in daily life, you
Yes.
know, like just sitting here, I could just open right now to my sensual, sexual energy, and it doesn't have to get projected onto anyone. I get to just be more full within myself.
Self-love,
Self-love and self-acceptance,
Yes.
self-compassion.
right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So if people aren't in the area and they want to start to investigate these things, what direction would you point them in?
Well, I love Sherry Winston's book, Anatomy of Arousal. Where else could you explore the Tantra? Actually you go on the web and Google and you can get so many different varieties of it that we can say red hot Tantra or pink Tantra, or, there's many different levels, but you need to just find what you're comfortable with. And I'm in Little Rock, Joy's here in Fayetteville. We're really hoping that we can build a community of people who know each other in Arkansas. And my teachers are from Ohio. And so
Maybe we could bring her down one time.
yeah, and you met Antoinette, so we would love to have Antoinette in the area. And
I have one more place to point to answer your question.
oh,
Sure.
good, please.
To one's own breath. If one wants to start a Tantra practice, what I love to share with my students
Well, that
is
was simple.
imagine your breath is like a lover. Because and I say that, like if you're at a party with a new lover, no matter where they are in the room, you know where they are, right? Like you have this third sense of where they are.
Right.
What if we did that with our breath? Like is our breath like short and choppy at any given moment? Is it labored? Is it easy? Can we be as attentive to our breath and allow ourselves to befriend it? It offers us so much. And so I would say start with your breath.
I like that answer.
I have one last question
All right.
for you, Jeannie. You mentioned earlier, you kind of like hinted that you would share more with us about that first
The Kundalini.
workshop and Kundalini. Is there anything else you want to share with us about that experience? Maybe for somebody who's a little reluctant, listening or watching, who's a little reluctant to sign up and register for your workshop.
Okay. Well, in my Tantra tradition, there are breaths, and there's about 4 or 5 breaths that we learn at different levels. But we are not really going to do a full level 1 workshop at this time. This is just going to be an introduction to see how people are interested in where they want to go next. And so it's really going to be a taste of everything. And
absolutely a way to enhance couples relating to each other in presence or intimacy. So yeah.
yes.
And a level 1 introduction to Tantra.
And so I'm going to show there are basic breaths that they can do. And in fact, you can really generate a lot of sexual energy with your breath. The breathing sequence. And we're going to do a movement sequence. And we're going to just play around a little bit with that arousal, but do it in a really safe way.
Well,
So-
everybody breathes, right?
Yes.
Everyone's scary about that.
Right. A lot of people breathe all up in their chest.
Yes.
I can see it as I'm out and about in the community. I see people, and I want to say, oh man, reach a little deeper. Yeah, it's really common that people do that. And probably blocks this flow that we're talking about.
It does. We are going to be dancing. Now, you saw that I did that in Little Rock. So movement in a couple of ways, but definitely just some free dancing that will be fun. A lot of good music. There'll be a lot of good music in the workshop. So.
And Jeannie and I will also provide a scrumptious dinner, because that's one of the things we like doing.
We like cooking, don't we?
Cooking and eating.
Well, that is
so fun.
sensuous.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think the creating food and the smells and all
Oh,
of it
yes.
is very sensual.
Oh, absolutely. I do.
One of the sensuous sounds I love, and our daughter Serena did this when she was 2 and 3 years old. After she ate, she always did the
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
Yes.
we'll bring some into it.
I know. I think people sometimes are are very nervous to talk about this subject, you know, but it's really, it's such a part of life and health and life force that what you're doing is really a gift to people to kind of stimulate that and have them think about it a little more deeply.
In a healthy way.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you've done workshops in the past, have you had people who are really resistant to opening up, even though they come to the workshop to learn this?
Well, I've only done short workshops myself.
Yeah.
And then I've done, like, Joy and I did a level 1 in Santa Fe, New Mexico with all women.
That
was really interesting. And
Or maybe we'll do that here, although I've had the request first to do a couples one.
okay,
But maybe we'll follow it up at a later time for an all women.
all women's, but what I think happens, Joy, and you were in Santa Fe, is like with me, there was resistance for maybe 2 hours in the beginning, but I've always been in a really safe atmosphere. I've always, and I know Joy and I can do this, create that safe container that you're just naturally going to open, and you're going to be surprised.
At a level that's right for you,
and
right?
exactly.
And there's so much in that onion peeling away, like whatever's right for you. And I do know that we both know how to hold a really safe and sacred container.
Nice.
I think we're
Nice. Are we about ready to wrap up?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
That went by really fast.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Wonderful.
Here's to soulful, edgy, and a joyful life. Soulful, edgy, and joyful life. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.